Hello everyone and welcome to the review of the Samsung Galaxy S2os 2. It's a new variant of the S2os which features a 1.2 GHz dual-core processor but with the same amount of RAM, that's 768 MB. So you have a 4-inch WVGA display. At the bottom you have two capacitive buttons which do light up, and you have a physical home button as well. At the top of the device you have some sensors, the VGA camera and the primary earpiece. If you move over to the left you can see the volume rocker. It's really sturdy, doesn't make any creaking sound, and has a nice feedback to it as well. You can also see the metallic looking trim which runs through the device. It has a sort of a brushed aluminium feel to it. At the top you have a space to attach your lanyard or charms if you want. Similarly, on the right hand side you have the power lock and unlock button, which is again very sturdy, and at the bottom you have the micro SD card slot which is hot swappable. You can insert your card just like that. And it supports up to 64 GB of micro SD card storage. At the back, you have the 5 megapixel camera with autofocus and the LED flash, which is quite bright. Then you have the Samsung logo. The back has a very nice textured feel to it, which makes the phone easy to hold, and it doesn't get smudged with fingerprints very easily, which is always a bonus over glossy back covers. At the bottom of the device, you have the primary microphone and you have the micro USB data syncing and charging port. Now let's move over to the top of the device. So there you have a very lonely 3.5mm headphone jack. So there's no secondary microphone or even a notification LED on the smartphone. The build quality on the S2os 2 is really great. The device feels really solid. However, the design might seem a bit repetitive. Now let's open the back cover to have a look inside. The back cover here is really solid. It doesn't flex as much as other Samsung covers do. And the textured feel again makes the phone really good to hold and has a premium feel to it as well. I'll just keep that aside. On the inside you can see that the phone has a 1500 mAh lithium ion battery. If you look over to the top, you'll find the main speakerphone, and if you move to the right you have the dual SIM card slots which take in SIM cards horizontally, one on top of the other. Both SIM cards are 3G capable, however only one SIM card can use a 3G network at any given time. Well, that was a look inside. You have the camera right there as well as the LED flash. I'll just close everything up. The back cover of the device closes in really tight without leaving any air gaps, making the phone feel really solidly built. The rounded corners as well as the curved sides add to the ergonomics, and the phone doesn't weigh much either, which makes it quite good for single-handed use, especially when compared to something like the Xperia M, which is a bit larger than this device. Now let's talk a bit about network and call quality. So here's the default dialer interface. At the bottom you can see several buttons. The first one is to call through the first SIM card, the second SIM card, and video calls as well. The call log interface is again pretty standard. Now I'll just make a call so that you can see some of the settings that you have inside. The call is just getting connected. Alright, so here you can choose adapt sound, which will allow you to use different sound modes when you are on call. And then you have something called extra volume, which can add a little bit of extra to the volume while you are listening to the other person or on the speakerphone as well. You can see that we have both SIM cards enabled, and we didn't have any issues with network or call quality on the S2os 2. Now let's talk a bit about the display. So we have a 4-inch WVGA panel on the S2os 2. There is no ghosting or freezing of any kind that we have noticed. The display seems really fluid. We played some games on it as well, and we didn't notice any lag there too. Now let's change some wallpapers so that you will be able to see the color reproduction yourself. So you can see from right here, the colors seem really vibrant, but sometimes they are a bit oversaturated as well. But we have seen that with most Samsung smartphones, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. And especially on the S2os 2, the colors don't seem that off. Now I'll just set the wallpaper. You can see that we can select several wallpapers separately for the SIM 1 or SIM 2. So if you choose a primary SIM, the wallpaper gets changed automatically. For now, I'll set it to all. The blacks on the display look really deep, and the viewing angles are quite excellent. Let's jump to music. So these are the default earbuds that come with the device. These sound really great. although not in-ear style, which is hard to miss. And then you have a single button interface to end and receive calls and a microphone right there. The 3.5mm jack is actually golden, which means that the sound quality could be good. In my books, these stand just next to the ones that come with the Sony Xperia M. While we are on it, let's talk a bit about the speakerphone. The speakerphone grill is a bit raised, so if you place the phone on its back, the sound doesn't get that muffled. So it's still nice to hear. It's quite loud, but we would have liked it to be a bit louder as well. So I'll now just play a song for you so you can judge for yourself. So you can hear that. Now I'll just pick the phone up. So you can see that there wasn't much of a difference, and the difference was majorly because the phone was on a flat surface. Nothing more than that. The sound quality is really good. There is a hint of bass as well. Now I'll just plug in the headset and we'll take a tour of the FM radio app. So you can see that the headphones are connected. Let's open the radio app. Alright, there it is. So you can see from right there, it finds the channel really quickly. And you have several options including play from the speaker and stations as well. It shows you which station is currently being played. Nice thing to see right there. If you go to home, I'll just show you in the notification drawer. You have the option to swap the channels or turn on or off the radio from there. And you also get recommended apps when you plug in your earphones. These come up automatically. You have the record feature as well. And the recording is really clear. I must say I haven't heard such clear recording from even higher priced smartphones. These get saved automatically. Now let's just get into settings. So you can choose a storage where the FM recordings go, as well as enable or disable RDS. Now let's have a look at the video playback. So this is the default video player. We are playing a 720p video at 30 frames per second. That's the maximum resolution supported by the phone. In terms of video playback, that is. You can see that there is no lag, there are no frame rate drops, and there is no ghosting as well. Now I've just loaded up YouTube and we are going to play the full review of the Micromax Canvas Juice. I'll just zoom in a bit so you can see it better. Let me just skip to it.
Let's have a look.
So here too we don't notice any lag.
I'll just plug in the headset.
And the video is always in sync with audio as well.
So it's been detected. Now let's get into the FM radio app.
Now let's talk a bit about the camera, which is a really coveted feature. So we have a 5 megapixel unit, which is covered with sort of a metallic enclosure, which doesn't do really much in protecting it. And you have a flash, which is quite bright and does good in low light conditions as well. Now let's talk a bit about the interface. So you can take videos as well as photos from here. You have different modes available too, just like the Galaxy S4. So here are the different modes: continuous shot, best photo. Sound and shot is also available, which came out with the Galaxy S4, which allows you to take a background sound along with your photo. Panorama shot is also available. The sports mode is for high action photography. And you have the night mode as well. But we would recommend taking photos with the flash on rather than using the night mode. The camera also supports touch to focus as well as autofocus, which does take a little bit of time when taking images. You can also apply these filters directly to the images being taken. There are some settings available here too. Let's jump to those. So from here you can limit the size of the video, whether you are taking an MMS or a normal video. Then you can turn the self timer on or off. You also have the settings for focus mode, that's macro or auto. You can turn the flash on or off from here as well. In camera settings, you have the photo size, that's 5 megapixels right now. You can choose the focus mode, metering and ISO. Video size, it's 720p at 30 frames per second. You can also choose a lower resolution if you want. Then you have the global settings where you can choose what to do with the volume key, whether to use it as a zoom or your shutter key. Then you can choose white balance options, exposure levels, whether to turn flash on or off, as well as where to store your photos and videos being taken. That was a look at the interface. A separate camera review will be uploaded soon. Moving on to software, you can see that the model number is GTS7582 running Android 4.2.2 with Samsung's custom TouchWiz UI on top. Several customizations are there which we will talk about in detail. So you have Wi-Fi tethering, USB tethering as well as Bluetooth tethering available on the device. Now let's go back. Going into My Device, you have several options for the lock screen, including which lock screen type you would like to use. You have the simple swipe and face unlock, which works really well. Then you can choose between pattern, pin and password too if you want higher security. You can enable multiple widgets as well as lock screen widgets. You have shortcuts available on the lock screen too. I'll just close it up. So you can customize these shortcuts that appear at the bottom. And that's the light effect that you see. You can choose that from unlock effect, which I'll just show you. So you can choose between ripple and light effect. Let's get into display. So you can change the wallpaper of the home screen, lock screen, or use the same for both of them. Let's get into brightness. So auto brightness is not available as the phone doesn't have a light sensor, but the display is viewable in sunlight as well. So those are the default settings. We'll get into notification panel now. So Samsung had decided not to use quick toggles. However, you have the notification panel, which you can see from here. And you can edit that from right there to add or remove any items that you might choose. Now let's quickly go back into settings and display. So you have the daydream feature available on the Galaxy S Duos 2 as well. Let us just enable that. So it's sort of a screensaver for your phone before going into deep standby or sleep mode. So it'll just display that before going into standby. You can choose different fonts for your device. Then you can customize the touch key light duration. That means how long should these lights stay on, and choose from 1.5, 6 seconds, always on or always off, according to your choice. Then battery percentage can also be displayed. Well, that was a look at the display settings. Let's get into sound. So you can separately choose to configure the different volumes of the device, ringtones, notification system, as well as the music playback. Then you can also customize the vibration pattern that the device should use and create your own pattern as well. Blocking mode is really handy. It allows you to turn off incoming calls, disable notifications as well as alarms and timer. You can set the time for which the blocking mode should be active, and you can allow certain contacts to get through even if the mode is on. Now let's get into the SIM card manager. So you can turn on or off both SIM cards from right here without taking them out of the phone. You can choose which SIM card to use for voice calls, video calls or for data service. Just like that, it's a really easy interface to go through. You can also enable always ask mode. Then you have the receive incoming calls feature, which lets you receive calls on the other SIM if you are using data. And then the smart dual SIM mode, which is sort of a software representation of active dual SIM, but it's not supported by all networks. Then you have safety assistance, where you can add your emergency contacts and accessibility features. Smart Alert gives you notifications of the missed calls or messages that may have come as soon as you pick up the device. You can also mute songs or incoming calls by just flipping the phone over. Let's get into security. So you can encrypt your device storage as well as external SD card. You can set up SIM lock, verify apps. The rest of the options are rarely used by anyone. Let's get into storage now. So out of the 4 GB storage, initially you get about 1.8 GB. At present we have 776 MB free. However, apps are movable to the SD card, and I'll just go and show you that. Let's get into the application manager. Now I'll try to move frontline commando D-Day. So you can see from here that only the app part moved. The data part still resides in the internal storage. So it's a compromise between not moving apps and moving the entire app plus data to the external SD card. Now I'll just show you the running information. So at present we have about 158 MB of RAM, that's free. But that's because we have been reviewing this phone for quite some time. Generally, more RAM is available. Now let's talk about the launcher. Here's the default launcher which comes with the S202. It's really fluid. There are no issues with navigation. On pinch to zoom, it opens the different home screens. You can also add your own home screens right here. Then there are several settings available too, where you can add apps or widgets, create folders, set wallpapers, as well as go into edit page option, which allows you to configure the pages, which I just showed you. Let's get into the app drawer now. Samsung bundles mostly usable apps as well as all of the Google apps. Download apps can be seen from right in this interface. You can choose your widgets by going into the widgets tab. Again, a very fluid interface. There are several options available in the app drawer as well, where you can jump to the Play Store. You can edit the position of various apps if you want to order them specifically to your own customization. Then you can also choose to create folders, uninstall apps directly, and choose a view type as well, whether it's a list or a grid. Now let's have a look at the browsing performance. We load up phonebunch.com. So our mobile website is opened up now. So you can see that the scrolling is a bit slow. Right there, it takes a bit of time. It's really not effortless. But this is not lag. The animations on this phone are sometimes really slow. So our website is loaded up now. You can see that pinch to zoom is really fluid. The touchscreen response is really great on this phone. You can also see the text quite clearly. The screen is really sharp. There's almost no pixelation seen anywhere. But again, scrolling is a bit slow. That can be due to a combination of factors, including that the scroll length is less or the animations have been configured to be really slow. While we are on performance, you can see that while moving through home screens or going through the navigation drawer or the app drawer, there is almost no lag, and we have been using this phone continuously for the last 1 hour. But you do see that apps take a bit of time to load, and that's the only thing that bothers me really. The interface just bogs down sometimes under pressure. Talking about battery, you can easily get 1 full day out of this phone. You can see that the battery curve is really smooth. That means that there are no sudden drops in battery level. It's time to wrap it all up. So the build quality of the device is really nice, especially the back cover, which makes the phone very easy to hold. The camera too is quite good, takes decent shots as well as videos. The flash is quite usable. The display on the phone is another plus point. It has good brightness, sunlight readability, as well as good contrast levels. You can play some high-end games, but again you are limited by the internal memory of the phone, although apps are movable. You have some useful things, just like this weather widget, and the TouchWiz UI 2 can prove useful sometimes, but it does tend to make me believe that it's this interface that makes the phone bog down after heavy usage. And that's the only real negative I've found about this smartphone. Samsung really has a healthy competition going on here, even with its own Galaxy Core as well as the Sony Xperia M. But at a price point of about Rs 11,000, the S202 surely seems a better bet. Well, that was all for tonight. Don't forget to subscribe for more such videos. Thank you and have a great day.